going on here in Canada land. King Mark Leahy Carney talked to President Donald Jebediah Trump, and here's what happened. The conversation was extremely productive.
Has had a phone call with Canada's Mark Carney, the first since Carney took over as Prime Minister.
Yeah, Trump posted on Truth Social saying the call was very productive and that both he and Carney agree on many things. Trump went on to say that they will be meeting each other in person after Canada's upcoming election.
Yeah, all we have so far is what we have heard from the president, who kind of gave his immediate reaction readout on Truth Social. He said, as you mentioned, that he plans to meet immediately with Prime Minister Carney after their upcoming election, which is scheduled, I should say, exactly 1 month from today. So it could be, a different dynamic that President Donald Trump faces 1 month from today. But he said that they want to talk about then elements of politics, business, and all other factors that will end up being great for both the United States of America and Canada.
We had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very, very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd. And I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many, many decades. And, that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of...
Guys, that has to stop, okay? America's getting fucked in every hole, and it's got to stop.
The other countries, some we probably won't. It won't be so pleasant.
One thing I also took away is that this call actually happened 14 days after Carney was sworn into office. That is kind of unusual. Normally, you'd have the President of the United States calling one of its strongest allies like Canada far sooner than that. So interesting that it took so long.
He's been busy selling Teslas, okay? Leave the man alone. You know how hard it is to sell a Tesla in this climate? Okay? God, these people, they have no respect. Everything's computer.
Donald Trump is speaking for the first time with the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney.
This was hilarious. So in case you guys don't know, Vice President Vance and his wife, Usha, went to Greenland. I'm sorry. It's funny to, I don't know what, be like, hey guys, just so you know, in a couple months we're going to try and invade you. We'd like you to smile a little bit before we do it so we could show the rest of the world that you guys are okay with it. And they had to knock on people's doors to see who would come. Nobody came. So they just turned around. They didn't it was a whole waste of a day. Oh my God. It's like going to the McDonald's to get an ice cream in June, but the ice machine is broken every time.
This is what Mark Carney said just yesterday about the Canadian relationship with the United States.
The old relationship we had with the United States based on deep...
You know what would be crazy? If, how many provinces are in Canada? 13? If Greenland, out of spite, decides to become an additional province of Canada, it's just to spite the Americans. But I don't know what the situation is with Denmark, so
integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations is over.
The relationship is over. Wow. Okay, so then today, Trump had this conversation with Carney for the first time since Carney became the prime minister. He said in that post that they had a productive call. But this is the interesting thing here. He actually called him Prime Minister, Mark Carney. He had been calling Justin Trudeau, his predecessor, the governor, 51st state, as in 51st state. I don't want to read too much into that because who knows what Trump will say in the next post or when he speaks publicly. True. But what is your reaction to that?
Yeah, again, I don't know how much I'd read into that, given that almost every single time the president talks about Canada now, he says it only makes sense as the 51st state. He repeatedly calls it the 51st state. I mean, maybe he's deciding to be a little bit more careful since Carney is the new PM. But look, Carney, I think, is coming out aggressively, whether it's in that statement that you played or previously. You know, they've ran ads in Canada. They're running actually billboard ads, I believe, in the United States saying tariffs are a tax, trying to appeal to the American public. The Canadian government is saying, Americans, this is not a good thing to be doing, which is to be antagonizing an ally with tariffs and to just continually be antagonizing us also by calling us the 51st state. So I think you're seeing this new playbook from someone like Carney, who is saying we're not going to take this line down.
Which is different. Just note, Carney's domestic politics here, right? He's called for an election. The entire landscape in this election, he became prime minister by getting elected leader of his party, obviously after Trudeau's departure, but he's now running to have his party maintain a majority status and maintain his premiership. And right now, the context of the election has totally changed because of everything you just went through that Donald Trump has done antagonistically towards Canada. It has made sort of running against Trump a more popular position and a central theme in this election. And so Carney is, what you heard yesterday, that's not just about setting up U.S.-Canada relations or the Trump relationship. That's also playing to the home crowd.
Republicans were for a while saying Trump is doing this for leverage. He's being unpredictable. But now you have someone who's not just at the table saying we're going to work for better sort of deal agreements. They're saying we're done with you. And that is not a position that Republicans want to be. And that's where you're also seeing them shift. They have been expressing more doubts. And privately, that's something that
I talked about this I haven't posted the YouTube video yet, but I talked about this earlier. Okay, I want to clarify something over here.
About the Canadian relationship with the United States.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
Okay, and then over here, this girl says the following.
They're saying we're done with you, and that is not a position that.
Okay, so I thought the same thing, actually, mistakenly, but I think it's important to listen to Mark Carney's words clearly. He actually worded it perfectly, in my opinion. He didn't say we're done with you. That's not what he said. If you go back and you listen, he said the old relationship with Canada and United States in terms of integration is done. The old relationship is done. And that was obviously the case when he's just stating a fact. Like, as soon as Trump came into office and decided to put tariffs on Canada and ruffle us up, if you will. And by the way, Ruffles, get them now. All dressed. My favorite flavor. Not sponsored, but Ruffles. I'm here. I'm waiting. Send me the money. So yeah, he's not saying that there is there's not saying that like the relationship between Canada and the United States is over. I think it's important. Canadians aren't turning their back on Americans. They're just saying that with the behavior that's been occurring with the United States over the past few months, things have changed. All right. Now, for the better, for the worse, I don't know. That's up for the United States to decide. But currently, it's been going for the worse, for sure. And I just want to emphasize that I think he worded it perfectly in the sense that he didn't say, oh, it's over. That's it. We're turning our backs on you. That's not what he's saying. That's saying, look, if you're going to act this way, then our old relationship, which was a very strong one, is not going to be that anymore.
That Republicans want to be. And that's where you're also seeing them shift. They have been expressing more doubts. And privately, that's something that I hear a lot more, that they have concerns about what it will mean for certain constituents and businesses that they're starting to hear from.
Joining us now for some analysis, the former Premier of Quebec, Jean Charest. He's also the former Deputy Prime Minister.
This guy looks like the battle pass
of Canada. Premier, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, do you agree with Prime Minister Carney that the long-standing, very old, distinguished U.S.-Canadian relationship is now over?
We continue to hear the same messages coming out of the Trump administration, Wolf.
I was going to say level 50. Level 50. You're saying level 1? No, level 50. That's like level 50.
How could we not come to that conclusion? And sadly, because
I just like it because it's all real, I don't know, he's obviously balding, his hair's thinning, but he's owning it,
The relationship between both our countries has been historically exceptional. Both countries are lucky to be born and live in this neighborhood of the world, frankly.
Agreed.
If
Agreed.
you look around, from a trade perspective, it's been an exceptional relationship, but it's changed. And
that's
we
all.
have just come to the conclusion that it's changed forever. And now we're looking ahead. We want to continue to work. And by the way, the American people, our neighbors and friends, we love them very dearly.
We love you guys.
And there's a difference.
All right? Nobody's turning. Nobody wants to fight. We love you guys. You see, this is good rhetoric, in my opinion.
Between that and the political issues we have. So we want to work with our American neighbors. I think we have to look at a comprehensive trade and security agreement in the future. But Canada's going to have to rethink its economy and rethink how we operate in this new political environment with the United States.
And then Trump's gonna say, "You f***ing p****s. All they want is love. You can't make money from love. You gotta do war. It's good business. You gotta do war. China is gonna take over America, and then they're coming for Canada."
Yeah, it's a whole new world. For those of us who grew up along the Canadian border, I'm from Buffalo in Western New York. It's hard for me to believe that this is even going on, given the longstanding, very close friendship and alliance between the U.S. and Canada. President Trump and the Prime Minister are speaking today. How much do you think this conversation will or will not improve the very bad moment in U.S.-Canada relations right now?
Well, it's an opportunity to have a better understanding of what President Trump has in mind. I mean, this idea of just throwing out there a 25% tariff in the automotive industry. I mean, our whole industry has been integrated on the automotive side, Wolf, since 1965. And so there's a whole logic around how the industry is organized. And trying to change that would cost billions of dollars to redo the supply chains that are very effective for both sides of the border and effective for consumers. Now, Mark Carney is in the middle of, Prime Minister Carney is in the middle of a federal election campaign to be held on the 28th of April. He is seeking a mandate, and he'll be seeking a mandate to be able to negotiate with President Trump and our American neighbor, the new administration. And so that has to be part of the conversation. And if that's the case, it would sort of make sense for the American administration to hold back on making decisions that are going to be upsetting and creating some chaos in our supply chains until that election campaign happens.
You know, it was interesting, Premier, hours before the Prime Minister's comments yesterday, President Trump issued a warning on social media. Let me read it to you. If the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the USA, large-scale tariffs, far larger than currently planned, will be placed on them, both in order to protect the best friend that each of those countries has ever had. How seriously are you taking this threat?
Well, we take seriously what President Trump says. By the way, on a number of issues, we get it, Wolf. Canadians know that there's a number of issues that the president wants to address, and we want to be helpful in that regard. We want to help him be able to accomplish what he has on his plate, on his agenda. Now, we're a sovereign and independent country. And if he's putting tariffs, he can't, at the end of the day, you can't tell other countries how to react if you're actually dragging them into this fight. And we did not ask for this fight, Wolf, to be very clear. Again, the American people, I hope they all understand that. We're being dragged into this because President Trump has decided so. But he can't, on the other hand, decide what either us as Canadians or Europeans do in response, which will be a legitimate response to his tariff policies.
And very quickly, Premier, before I let you go, how do you react
when
you hear President Trump refer to Canada as potentially America's 51st state, and he starts calling the Premier, the Prime Minister of Canada, governor?
Well, we all thought initially that this was just, a friendly jibe at Canada. Obviously, it's not, and it's disturbing. And, if you read between the lines, it's as though he's saying to Canada, what's really wrong with you is the fact that you exist. And I object to the fact you exist, and you should not. And think for...
Oh, my God. So relatable, bro. Oh, so relatable. You have no idea on a daily basis when I ask people, why don't you like me? It's just really the fact that you exist. Bro.
For a moment, if you were an American, of how disturbing such a statement would be. To say you don't exist
crazy.
as a country and then question the borders.
That's a perfect
We've seen
analogy.
this movie before. They never end well. And hopefully, with a new prime minister, with Mark Carney as the new prime minister, that this tone will change and that we'll get to a serious, friendly discussion on the fundamental issues that affect both countries and continue to work together. That's our hope.
We need boring politics, okay? We just do. I know that it's fun, and it's entertaining to watch this clown show, but we have Love is Blind for that, okay? We have Keeping Up with the Kardashians. This shit is actually bad business. Is not good business at all. It's actually terrible business. It's smoke without the fire. That's all it is.